What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 2200 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from overseas and from here in the US. So, right now, we have a U.S. presidential Doomsday plane that's been doing some very interesting things over Iowa. And we also have a nuclear war command and control plane that went out into the Pacific off the coast of California. And it's pretty unusual for one of these nuclear war command and control planes to go out into the Pacific this late at night. And what it's doing here is communicating with our submerged nuclear armed submarines through VLF, very low frequency. And I actually just heard an EAM, an emergency action message, come in right before I started recording this update. But here's the presidential Doomsday plane, and it was flying with its tracker turned off for quite a while here in northern Missouri and Iowa. So this is pretty weird for this late at night for a Doomsday plane to be up in the air, especially with its tracker off partially. And then some other interesting things going on off the coast of Florida. Here you can see this P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter that was flying quite low along the coast of Florida, the Atlantic coast of Florida. Check that out. Okay, it was flying at only 9 to 10,000 feet, which means it was scanning this area for possible submarine activity, potentially Russian subs or Chinese subs. So this is very concerning, and there's been a lot of activity here off the coast of Florida and in the Bahamas over the last couple of days. We've seen a lot of sub hunters here. Like 2 days ago, there were 3 of them over here in this area. We also had a recon plane go down to the Florida Straits 2 or 3 days ago as well. So something's going on over here, but we do have a U.S. presidential Doomsday plane airborne tonight and a nuclear war command and control plane. There was also a Doomsday plane airborne yesterday as well. So these Doomsday planes are airborne every single day now. So we have to stay on very high alert. And the Russian Defense Ministry said in regards to the attack last night on Ukraine that the attacks were in response to Ukrainian strikes using Western weapons on the Krasnodar region and the Turk Stream pipeline. The Russian Defense Ministry says it successfully hit a large underground gas storage area in Stry in western Ukraine. Okay, so I'm hearing that it was the largest gas storage area in all of Ukraine. Okay, but that is very, very serious, guys. And NATO is going to create a defensive cordon around the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, in case of a Russian offensive. According to the UK Telegraph, a coalition will be formed to create a defensive barrier around the Ukrainian capital with Western allies to give Kyiv the opportunity to send troops elsewhere. So this is very interesting. And we do know that the French Special Operations Forces trained recently, as many as 3,000 of them trained to fight in the northern Kyiv area, north of the capital of Ukraine, going up towards Chernobyl. They trained in terrain very similar to the Dnipro River north of Kyiv, okay? And the reason they were training was to halt a Russian and Belarusian invasion from the Chernobyl direction, just like initially when Russia and Belarus invaded over there. Okay, they basically are training to stop that from happening a second time, but now NATO is considering some kind of a defensive cordon around the capital in the event that Russia were to try to seize the capital again. NATO would send forces there. Guys, that is very, very serious, okay? And I'm sure it's already been agreed on. I'm sure that it's already been war gamed out and rehearsed, and I'm sure it's already in the works. You know, NATO's not going to allow Russia to take the capital, okay? And they've had the last 3 years almost to prepare for Russia to do this again, which they could try to do it again soon. And what you're looking at here is a picture of South Korean, Japanese, and American fighter jets conducting an exercise with a U.S. B-1 strategic bomber. And this was in response to North Korea launching potentially hundreds of short-range ballistic missiles into the East Sea, okay, the Sea of Japan, that's east of North Korea, on Sunday night. Okay, so tensions on the Korean Peninsula are escalating, and about 2 weeks ago, Kim Jong-un ordered all of his short-range ballistic missiles to go on high alert, on full combat alert. They have like 250 of those missiles along the border with South Korea, and in one salvo they could launch as many as 1,000 rockets that could reach the capital of South Korea, Seoul. And those rockets are also nuclear capable as well, okay? So tensions are escalating over there, and we did have a high priority reconnaissance plane patrolling the border of North and South Korea last night. There's only 2 of those planes in the U.S. Air Force, and they send intelligence directly to the President and the Joint Chiefs, and one of them was patrolling the DMZ last night. And on Wednesday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres issued a grave warning regarding the myriad of challenges facing humanity, characterizing them as a Pandora's box of ills. He emphasized that the proliferation of uncontrolled technology poses significant risks to our very existence. Wow. So he specifically was focusing on uncontrolled technology. Very interesting. Now, I'm not a fan of Antonio Guterres. I think he's a bad person, okay, to say it nicely, okay, but it's interesting to hear what he has to say because he's the leader of the UN and he's one of the high-ranking elites, so it kind of gives us a clue as to what the elites have planned for us, okay, but uncontrolled technology proliferation is apparently in his eyes a significant risk to our very existence, okay? So he's talking about potentially like a Terminator situation, an AI becoming self-aware and waging war against humanity to exterminate us. And NATO has announced Operation Baltic Sentry, a large naval deployment into the Gulf of Finland to protect undersea cables and other infrastructure from Russian sabotage. Now, if you remember, Russia already cut like 3 cables connecting Finland to Estonia. They cut 1 electric cable and 2 communications cables, which is very serious. Now, Estonia only has 1 electric cable connecting it to Finland. If Russia were to invade Estonia, all they would have to do is cut that last cable, and Estonia would be completely in the dark, okay? A Finnish investigation has uncovered an extensive Dubai-based network managing Russian shadow fleet oil and liquid natural gas tankers made for attacking critical undersea communication cables in the Baltic Sea. Apparently, a single Dubai firm owns 24 sanctioned ships. Okay, this was reported by YLE out of Finland. And tonight we have Ukrainian drones spotted flying over the Tambov region in Russia. Apparently some kind of a facility there was hit by these drones, and also a massive oil depot in Russia's Voronezh region caught fire following multiple drone strikes, according to regional governor Alexander Gusev. And a communication cable in Tatarstan in Russia broke, and it led to internet outages for 4 million users in 21 regions of Russia. Wow. And a push for increased defense spending among NATO members will be a key point at an upcoming summit to be held later this year, Baltic states' defense ministers said Wednesday. Dutch, Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian counterparts met in The Hague to coordinate crucial topics ahead of the 32 member states gathering in June and to strengthen cooperation along the alliance's eastern flank with Russia. For the upcoming NATO summit in The Hague, we, Lithuania, advocate that 3% of GDP for investment is the bottom line, Defense Minister Dovile Sakalyen said, and that should be the bottom line for everyone, she told reporters. So this is very, very interesting. The Baltic countries are pushing for all of NATO to have a minimum 3% rule for defense spending. And from what I heard is Trump wants a 5% rule. And Sputnik News out of Russia is reporting that advisors to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump acknowledged that resolving the conflict in Ukraine could take months or longer, according to a British news agency. It's a sharp reality check on Trump's biggest foreign policy promise to strike a peace deal on his first day in the White House. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. And Russia will demand that Ukraine cut its ties with NATO and become a neutral state with a limited military during talks with Trump, according to Bloomberg, citing its sources. So Putin's going to double down on his demands of Ukraine not joining NATO and having basically no military at all, which would allow Russia to invade them anytime they want. And crew members of French nuclear-armed submarines have potentially leaked their position and patrol schedule to Russia inadvertently by using a fitness app known as Strava. Strava allows members to share their sporting activities online and includes a map showing the location and time where the user completed different exercises. So absolutely insane, guys. Okay, these people serving on the French nuclear-armed subs, giving away their location and schedule to the Russians by posting on this fitness app when they're doing different exercises and where. Okay, so basically this gives Russia a clue as to when French nuclear-armed submarines are out at sea instead of being in port, because if they're in port, then you're going to see all the people in the sub working out, and they're going to be logging activities in the app. But if they're out at sea, they're not going to be logging any activities, so, which is huge in nuclear war. You want to know if your enemy's nuclear-armed submarines are in port or out at sea on patrol. And Vice Admiral Brendan R. McClain, the commander of U.S. Naval Surface Forces, revealed yesterday during a conference in Washington just how many munitions have been used in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and Eastern Mediterranean since October 2023. Since the beginning of Operation Prosperity Guardian, the U.S. Navy's mission to protect international shipping against the Houthis in western Yemen, over 400 munitions have been exhausted by naval surface vessels, including 120 SM-2 medium-range surface-to-air missiles, 80 SM-6 long-range surface-to-air missiles, and 20 evolved Sea Sparrow missiles and SM-3 surface-to-air missiles as well. Also, they're saying here that destroyers and cruisers have fired a total of 160 rounds from their 5-inch 127mm gun mounts. Okay, so totally insane, guys. Probably billions of dollars spent dealing with these Houthis. Okay, just totally insane how we allowed the Houthis to do this the last year and a half. And here we have video footage of the Israelis confiscating some Syrian tanks. Looks like a T-72 here. Looks like probably somewhere near Mount Hermon area. Okay, so Israel has been busy confiscating tanks and different types of weapons from Syria. This way they can't be used against Israel. So this is interesting. You can see some rockets here or artillery shells that they're taking away. So huge score for Israel. Okay, all these weapons here. And TikTok is preparing to potentially make their app unavailable to its 170 million American users on Sunday, the same day a U.S. ban is set to go into effect. And U.S. President Joe Biden boosted security ties with Cyprus by issuing a presidential memorandum that makes the Eastern Mediterranean island eligible to receive American defense articles and military sales. So that's pretty interesting. And Canada could impose countermeasures of up to $100 billion worth of U.S. imports if President-elect Donald Trump puts tariffs on Canadian goods and services. A source familiar with the matter said on Wednesday, Canada has drawn up a list of targets but would hold public consultations before acting, according to the source, adding the extent of any potential reaction would depend on what Trump does. Wow. So it looks like we're going to get into some kind of an economic war or a trade war with Canada now. And here we have video footage coming out of the Philippines showing Philippines Coast Guard intercepting a Chinese Coast Guard vessel that has been lurking off the coast of the Philippines for the past several days. You can see the Chinese Coast Guard vessel there. Okay, so China is still encroaching on the Philippines every single day. They're still doing it. And finally, I want to just share this clip of Pete Hegseth. He's going to be the new defense secretary. It's pretty rare to see somebody in Washington, D.C. calling out the Lord's name.
And as Jenny and I pray together every morning, all glory, regardless of the outcome, belongs to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. His grace and mercy abounds each day. May His will be done.
So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news. Check out my 24/7 live stream for continuing updates. I will be monitoring the situation with the Doomsday plane and all of our nuclear forces. If anything crazy happens, I will go live. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.